And good Tuesday evening, October the 10th, 2023. It's the David and Chuck Show here on eNet Sports, the Tuscola Football Network, YouTube, Instagram. I don't know. We're kind of in a bunch of places. So, anyway, welcome to a beautiful fall night. The weather has changed, Chuck. Good evening.
Good evening to you. Leaves are changing.
Oh yeah, it's beautiful. Janet and I and Mom took off Saturday afternoon and got down to Folly Beach Saturday night and just about 2 days just to kind of get away. Stressed and just a beautiful place down there and the weather was gorgeous. But when we came home today, there's leaves falling. Fall is in the air. We're 2/3 of the way through football season, and there's a lot going on. There's something happening this week in Haywood County. I don't
Oh yeah.
remember, but something's happening. What's going on this week in Haywood County that would
I,
that
I think it has to do with some of a little football game between two combatants. I don't know.
yeah
It's
it's
special this time of year, doesn't it?
I tell you and it's come quick, hasn't it?
Yeah.
It's just the other day that uh, uh, Jonathan uh, took the job and was just talking about logistics and footballs and tees and uniforms and man, and now here we are to the week. This is it's really cool. It's really
Yeah.
cool, and they had such a great time. We left town and were not able to get to the bonfire on Saturday, but apparently it was just a great success. Avery rode in the parade. Somehow Avery finagled her way into the middle of the parade, and the cheerleaders, the bands.
That
Yeah, it was pretty cool. And the bonfire and the sledgehammer and the food. So it's uh, it's almost like an extra holiday in the community in Haywood County on both sides of the county. It's like a second Christmas. It's a pretty neat thing, don't you think?
yeah, I think a lot of people think that too, but the ones that have experienced it over the years, even if you've one time is it is rivalry. You have a greater intensity through the week. You have preparation is and practices are crisper and longer. Attention to details. They're burning the midnight oil, having game plans, contingency plans on, their contingency plans. So they're covering all and dotting all the I's and crossing all the T's. The crowds are incredible, always have been. And they, to the point where you got in a church, you got church divided now. Is that church, you got the ones wearing the black and yellow on sit on the right, and the ones that are red and black sit on the left. They're divided there. So, and it's only for this week, so
Yeah.
when it comes to past Sunday and everything, I'm sure they'll get together, um, you know, after the game, and it's a game where the players need at least 48 hours to just wind down, win or lose, because it means so much to the history of the rivalry, and that's what you're playing for. So, um, I've
Yeah.
been around a lot of states, David. It's the greatest to me. My greatest football rivalry game is this one.
Well, can I show you? If you'll look at the bottom of the screen, and I did not do this before you said that. When I got home this afternoon, I got back. So,
That
and
I,
I believe that.
you know,
And
I
and
I keep track of the greatest American, the great American rivalry series that comes every year, and they don't do that. But for one rivalry game, they'll run a course of maybe two or three, four, something like that, and then boom, they go off to another thing, other rivalries, but they pale in comparison. They're always back every single year to show this game to the nation. So
Yeah.
it's just the crowds, the moms, the dads, the bands, everybody's putting on their best, you know, putting their best foot forward. So
Oh
it,
yeah. It,
it's just the greatest rivalry to me.
there's nothing like it. And some housekeeping and some logistics real quick. My understanding, now I could be wrong, and if I am, please people correct me here, because whatever platform you're on, if you send a comment, it comes to us here. So, but my understanding is because of the way that we are, and I get it, and nobody, I'm the old law enforcement guy. They have to do a sweep of the stadium when school lets out, and they got to do the dogs, and they got to do the bomb sweep, and they got to do that things. The gates should open at 4 o'clock or just a few minutes after. Don't come before. They kind of wanted us to make sure that people know, please don't come before that, because the middle school is trying to get out and they need to get the buses and the students off campus. So don't show up at 2 o'clock, because number one, you can't get in the stadium anymore because, hey, look, it's the world we live in now. So they got to do the bomb sweep, and they have to do those things, and we've got to get everybody off campus that needs to get off campus. But shortly after 4 o'clock, at my place, we're going to close down for the day, probably around 2 o'clock. We're going to have some food if people want to come by and eat and do those things, and we'll talk more about that on Thursday. But it, so understand about the gate, that you can't go. Back in the day, when Janet was able to go Jonathan's senior year to Pisgah, and she was able to show up very, very early and kind of stake her place out with the blankets and all that. But you can't do that until after 4 o'clock right now. The other thing is, and I think this is kind of cool, they're going to come over and do a documentary, kind of from Tennessee. Chris Reddick and that crew are going to come over and do a documentary of this game through the perspective of Coach Crompton, that was a player, and then did the other things he did, and now coming back as the coach. And I guess they're going to start, the way that I understand it is, it's going to be like from wake up till we go, you get back to the locker room when it's over. And he did, and I told him, hey, look, I got nothing to do with it. That's the thing with you and them. But he did text me today and call me today and say, hey, what about driving into the stadium? And I said, hey, you probably need to ride the bus. If you're gonna, if you're gonna do that, you probably need to ride the bus, because the bus, both of those teams will have police escorts, and that's probably the only way they can get there on time. So excitement is in the air. Throw the records out, and it's Tuscola and Pisgah.
Yep, it's truly the game where, and I was telling Rhonda Bird this, is that this is truly the game where you can throw out records. You can throw out past performances. Doesn't matter, because these kids rise to the occasion to play their best. They'll play a sharper game. They'll be prepared. The coaches spend extra time, preparing for this game, trying to keep them off their feet, knowing tendencies. I mean, they may not be Division 1, but they'll play like Division 1 come Friday night.
Yeah,
So it's
you're
just
right.
it will be the pinnacle of the season to the winner, and it'll be the spoils of the season to the losers.
Yeah. And We've talked about this years ago, and it just kind of popped in my brain as we're here. There's not a lot you can do about the conference schedule. I get that, but man, wouldn't it would be really awesome to be the last game of the regular season. Or am I wrong in saying that?
No,
Because that would
you know
talk
me.
to me. Tell me what you think.
When I was the sports editor, I questioned that and the fact that it got shut down. I mean, I remember David Press. I said, it'd be just like Michigan, Ohio State, Alabama, Auburn. Play it the last game. He said, and what do we do going into the first round?
And he's right. But for us, that
Yeah.
would, yeah, and
I
for the
said,
fans. And go ahead. I'm sorry.
yeah, they understand that, the emotion that you now want to get them back up. He said you need at least 2 weeks to get yourself rejuvenated back up to go into the postseason, to have the enthusiasm, the intensity that you need. It is hard for these kids to spill their guts, their intensity, everything they've got for about 3 hours on some sacred acre in Haywood County, and then turn around and 7 days later they're having to get back up again. And what I noticed over the years that I was there, the 15 years, was the fact that you go out to practices and it's the worst practices after the game. It's lethargic. They just don't have any energy. And you're like, good grief. How are they going to play Friday? And they'll find a way to play the following Friday, but they spill everything they have in their system on that field. Both teams, in a losing effort and in a winning effort. Nobody wins that battle. Everybody leaves it on the field. That's
Yeah.
that's just one of the many things to me why it's so wonderful.
Yep. And you know, everybody's got memories of
Mm-hmm.
it, and since this is our show, uh, my memories are and we can talk about it a little bit tonight. On the coach's show, and I get what coach is saying. I get it. I mean, I know, and he knows, and I mean, it's just like at his press conference or at the school board when he took the job, and he kind of shocked everybody when he said, he said what he had to say, and he was walking away from the podium. Then he stopped and he turned around and he walked back and he goes, "But understand, it's 200 days from today, exactly 200 days from today, and I know that." So he, for these guys, for Chapel and for Jonathan and their staffs on both sides, for the kids, for the alum, for the parents, for the grandparents, for the great great grandparents, for the husbands and the wives, uh, it's always there and it never goes away.
Right.
And uh, it just, and going down, and I say that to say, I go back and I look and I think like 1972. I'm looking here. They played twice in 1972. Within 2 weeks, they played on September the 30th, and Pisgah won 17-0, and then they played again on November 17th, right around Thanksgiving. And I hope somebody can tell me here, is that the snow game I heard so much about, that they played in the snow, and the Mountaineers won that game 17-6, and then in uh,
Look at the
1970, and then
look
in
at the game.
1974.
Yeah, look at the game
Let me,
beforehand that where they played in 1972. Look at the score
yeah,
of the game in 1972 in the end of September. What was the score?
17-0 Pisgah.
Yeah, that was the year they split.
Yeah,
That totally amazing, and the stories that you have with that game.
yeah. And then I go back in 1974. They played September 20th, 1974, and Tuscola, the Mountaineers won 12-7 over the Bears, and then they turned around and played again on November the 22nd. That is right at Thanksgiving. That might be the snow game. That might be the snow game where it was the 13-13 tie.
Right.
Now, And I wish and I hope somebody can get on here and kind of let us know about those 2 years when they played twice. That would be now that would be really cool. Now,
Right.
if you're the coaches and the players are going, yeah, 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 but if you're the coaching staffs, you're going, I don't know. That's
I
a heck of a lot of effort.
do talk to the coaches when they were in the same classification, whether it was 2A or 3A, and that you could possibly you make this statement to these coaches after they played the first game. You can meet again, possibly in the playoffs, and they just kind of do this and go, I don't know if I want that. I don't know if I want that to happen in second round, third round, something like that, or face them like that. One time's enough. It's that great of a rivalry. So
Yeah,
the coach put everything into it. The players would probably want to, because their time is like the sand dial. When you put it down, when that runs out, you no longer get to play in that game.
yeah,
That's
yep,
what's important about it. So the players will say, we'll play in a parking lot 3 and 4 times if we have to, as long as that sand, there's sand in the sand dial, I can play in this game. Because once it's over with, they stop cheering you when you walk into a room or come out on the field. They're cheering somebody else. Band strikes up, and they're striking it up for somebody else. So to the players,
yeah.
it's running out on them.
Yep. And before I ask you about '04, and I want to tell you a little bit about '03, and is just real quickly, uh, the Waynesville Middle School is traveling to Brevard for the first round of the playoffs Thursday night. I don't know why they play middle school on Thursday anymore. I don't get it, but that's not for me to get. But they play Brevard, and kickoff is at 5 o'clock. That's really important. Got a great young team. They do a great job down there with those kids. And first round of the playoffs, Waynesville is playing at Brevard Thursday night. JV game Thursday night at Pisgah. And you won't be in town Thursday night, correct?
That is correct. I do have next week a wedding, so Phil's getting married, and so we're flying back to Michigan, and we're doing everything we're possible. Again, I have I got to take care of my wife first, see if
Yep.
this is possible. So efforts are being made. Don't know if I can be there, but I
Mm.
may find somewhere where it's on streaming.
Well, I right now I'm planning on you being here Friday until you tell
Yeah.
me no.
All right, bud.
But so '03 for me and my wife was almost a culture shock. Uh, because again, hey, and when I'm not diminishing anything that I grew up in, but for me, to this day, the Inca Irwin rivalry is a big deal. And I'm not going to sit here just because I live out here and tell people that I don't look at that box score and I don't get excited and want the Warriors to beat the Jets uh, by 100 every year they play. But when I came around the corner to drive up to the stadium at CE Weatherby in '03, uh, and it was a little bit, I think a little bit before 4 o'clock, and you could see already hundreds, if not a couple of thousand people already in the stands. Traffic was backed up, and I'm going, what in the world is this all about? And then by the time they went out to do flex, there was not a seat to be had. There was absolutely not a seat to be had. And the other day, I went to YouTube and put in Tuscola Pisgah 2003, and to see that stadium when the pine trees were still there, people in the pine trees 20 deep on the fence. And I'm not just saying that. If you go look at it, it was unreal. On top of the school building, in the school building across the way, on the roof of the apartments, and 20 deep all the way around. And I'm just going, wow. That was kind of unbelievable to see for at a high school level. And then the next year in '04, which was your first year, when they had the upside down Tennessee flags and I mean, at Memorial Stadium, and just the craziness. I can still remember the little old guy who and the little lady that were probably at that time in their 70s, just screaming and hollering and just going berserk and hollering at me. And I'm just going, hey, look, man, I'm just a dad. Just calm your ass down a little bit. I'm just a dad here. You know, I'm not, the outcome doesn't, I'm not going to affect it. And then it was just really cool. And then, you know, the flood came, Chuck, the next night. The flood came the very next night, if you remember correctly.
I thought that was
It,
'05.
it no, that was '04. Was it because that was the last
You're right.
game on the original field
You're right.
at Pisgah Memorial Stadium, and this has not got anything to do with now, but the last points that were scored, the last touchdown scored on the original Pisgah Memorial Stadium was Jonathan, and I've never forgotten that, uh, and how. Because I'm a history guy, and you know we talk about that all the time. You're a history guy, and the history of these two programs, but the history of these two facilities is to me is just as special as anything else. And I've always thought that how cool that is. You know, now the way that it had to be the last scored was tragic because that flood was devastating and and uh, and to our community. But what a rivalry! And tell me about when you first saw it. I know you heard about it, and you heard about it from me and from many people. But when you saw it the first time yourself in '04.
Well, what kicked it up for me was in '04 when I came. I arrived here as the sports editor on July 19, 2004. Prior to coming here, I was at the Winston-Salem Journal, and everybody said congratulations and all that as I was leaving. One guy pulled me aside and said, "You are one lucky dog." This is down in Winston-Salem now, and working for the newspaper sports section. He said, "You're one lucky dog. You get to cover and be a part of the Tuscola Pisgah rivalry." And then he went, or the Pisgah Tuscola rivalry, depending on how you look at it. That's where I get that saying when I say that from.
Yeah,
And I got jacked up. So I came in being told this was real special. And leading up to it, I remember putting together the football, the fall preview, having getting there and having to get to know the coaches and everything. And early August, I went and got a helmet from Coach Nolan, a Tuscola helmet, and took it to David Presley. Kids were coming out for practice, and I thought David Presley was going to take me to the woodshed. He was not happy the fact that I was holding a Tuscola helmet and I was going to put the two together and take an actual helmet together. You'll see that '04 fall preview. It's the helmets.
yeah,
And and he said, "You're new. I'll let this slide, but don't ever let this happen again." I said, "Okay, coach, I won't." So then the game, when the game, it was Labor Day and that weekend, and I told you the stories of people coming, putting their blankets down and everything. When I got to the game, I got there because Randy Pitts told me to come early. I did.
God bless his soul.
God bless him. He was a heck of a Pisgah Black Bear and my friend. And
Yes,
he told me come early. We're standing there and it's packed, and we're 4:30. So I'm getting my cell phone out and calling my brother, my mom, everybody. I'm telling them, I didn't know, I didn't have a camera or anything, but I just told him, I said, this thing is packed and we're 3 hours away from game time. And the noise was so intense that was the first and only time I was down on the field. I wanted to be on the field to experience it. And I remember my daughter, Lindsay, trying to get my attention. And that if the fence, you're at the fence and you're standing on the sidelines, it's not that far. And she's screaming at the top of her lungs. And finally, she had to get somebody to tap me on the shoulders and look back. I couldn't hear her. And that's how far away I was to get our keys so they could go because it was too intense. She said it was like, just pressure on their chest and everything, my wife and Lindsay. So, the fact is that it was a special game. I remember it was a back and forth game. But what I remember the most about this was that it was such a capacity crowd. If you recall the old dugouts in the baseball fields at Pisgah Memorial Stadium, it was a dual purpose field.
Yeah, down in the
And I'm
corner.
standing there looking, and I hit Randy Pitts like this, and I first as I turned to those dugouts, standing on those dugouts to watch the entire game. This is before the game started. And as I looked at both those dugouts, I looked up, and there's people on the top of the armory. They could not get,
Yes.
so they went and they're standing on top of the armory. And as I looked over, they were on top of the school, the middle school.
Yep.
Went, oh my goodness, So it was the most impressive experience I ever had. I didn't care who won or who lost, and it was everything that was pre-built to me about, and it's just gotten better over. Um, I know leading up to this, for a lot of the years I was there, Tuscola and they took it over in '85, held the series lead. And Tuscola meant something to them to hold that lead. Pisgah wanted it. And then we had just recently a run by Pisgah. They took the rivalry away, and which they hold right now a 4-game lead, 31-27 and one tie. And it means something to them. Every nugget, even down to who had the largest margin of victory. Every nugget about this game is something special to somebody, to the players, to the coaches, from a margin of victory to the series lead to the how many largest winning streak being held, which is Tuscola by with 10. Pisgah had a 9-game streak and got beat last year, but the first overtime to remember it. The things that took place in this game, you just sit back in awe to, and then in awe of the whole entire rivalry. But then you watch the game on the field, and it's the best played high school football game around on most games. So I'm excited for the people of Haywood County. They have something special. Hold on to it. The
Yeah.
rivalry is still strong,
Oh,
and
it's
they'll get that.
yeah.
They'll get it. They'll
Yeah.
get it on Friday.
And yeah, and we're looking, and we'll do a little more, and this is a little different, and folks need to understand as they're watching us. Uh, I never pick a winner or a loser for our guys. That's not my role. And this week, I'm not going to put you in that position because I don't think that's fair to put you in that role. You
Right.
know, it's just, so we'll talk, we're going to talk about the game. We're going to break it down on Thursday. Uh, and but we're not going to pick a winner and a loser. I mean, now look, I'm not going to sit here and lie to you. I know who I want to win. For me, there's no question who I want to win, and there's no question in my heart who I think is going to win. But that's that is what it is. But it's going to be intense. Uh, and the thing that I like is the personalities of the two guys running their programs. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Uh, they're both very intense. Uh, People think they know, but they really don't. How intense these guys really are. It's hilarious. I'd love to sit down and just put a deck of cards out and stand back and watch them play for a dollar, a dime, a penny.
I
I mean, they're very, there's no hatred involved. There's none of that stuff that, uh, but I'd love to put a basketball
Right,
down and go. You got 20. You got 20 free throws.
right.
I'm just gonna watch. I'm just gonna watch.
Well,
You know
look,
that's what. But that's what it's all about.
right. You have uh, you have two alpha dogs meeting each other Friday night. Two alpha dogs. Both played college football. Both started in high school. Both played college football. Both had NFL experience, and now they're head football coaches on the high school level. I know Chapel. Chapel, MO is we will put everything we have into this ball game. Everything. I'll worry about next week when we get to next week. But right now, we'll do everything humanly possible to beat that team over on the other side of the county. I know Jonathan. He gives you that coy, well, as a coach, I can't do this. I got to make sure my team's all right. It's important to me. Off the thing, he I will do everything humanly possible to beat this team. And no man that stands before the school board starts to walk off and go back to the podium on the mic and says it's 200 days from today, so it means something to me. I'm counting the days too. So this is what the head coaches, and that permeates down to the staff. It permeates down to the players. And don't miss the game because you're going to miss a thriller.
Yeah. Yep. It's gonna be fun. Now for me, and my friends and my family, it's hilarious. It ain't no fun for me. If I can get through it without having to my back locking up again or having a semi stroke, I'll consider that a victory. Because it's but again, and I mean this sincerely. We've been blessed, man. I've seen everything that and been, you know, uh, one of the highlights of my life was to see Jonathan run out on at the last Monday night of August in 2009 in the Rose Bowl and play on national, the only college football game in the nation, playing UCLA on Monday Night Football, and going, wow, man, he's playing on this field, on that field. But it pales to me, it pales in comparison to what is here.
Right,
And that's a hell of a statement.
right.
It's a heck, I mean, and I mean that. I'm not just saying that. This is so special. And I just don't think there's, again, what do you see there? The Tuscola Pisgah, the greatest rivalry, high school rivalry in America.
Right,
There might be some that are on par, but there's nobody better.
right.
And
I you have you the hardest job for the head coaches for this game is tempering the enthusiasm out of their players on a Tuesday. Because you got
yeah,
to build to something right now. You got players going, let's go now. Let's go to a parking lot at Walmart, line it off, and let's play. And you're like, hold, John, hold, Timmy, hold on before we got
yeah.
5 days. No, let's do it now. Call them up. Let's meet. That's the way they are on both teams.
And as the editor of the sports editor, uh, and this is, again, that's why I like what we do on Tuesday and Thursdays,
Right.
is just we're able to just talk. Is what do you miss that part?
Oh,
During the week when you were able, that nobody else, I mean, the guy off the street's not going to get to walk down on the field at practice, okay?
right,
You know what I'm saying? And go
right.
talk to the coaches and go talk to the players and go talk to the training staff and go talk to the principals. And how much do you miss that for this week?
I miss
Sometimes I know it could be drudgery
right.
just as the seasons go on and it's game after game. But this game, do you miss that?
Yes, I do. My best time at the Mountaineer was fall and was football season. That was the best. This week is special. There's nothing like it. Writing the stories, keeping everything in notes, and running those stories and features and stuff like that for this week. What I loved most was as you get done with your job, you kind of want to go by a practice field. Now, in my later years, 4 or 5 years, before I retired, I didn't go to the practices because there was a point in time when you had that. You get out at the field, and as you're standing there watching, if I'm out at Tuscola, they don't want you out there. I go to Pisgah, they don't want you out there. They don't want anybody out at their practice field. It's shut down to the public, their practices. And that's how that the intensity. I wasn't offended by that. I love that stuff. I knew that this was preparation. You're going to get the kids' best on Friday. I knew that. And this week was so hyped and amped. I received phone calls from people, being at the game. Where do I find out? What broadcast? Is it on television? Tell them about the Great American Rivalry Series. On and on and on. And people, you're fielding phone calls about simply, what do you think? Who will win? I don't know. I mean, I really don't know. And most of the games you just really did not know. And I've seen where the inferior team won the football game. In my 15 years there, I've seen several times where the inferior team won the game, talent wise, and they won the game. So you can't go on paper, and I seen some people sending me stuff. It's all this week already started with sending me some of the stuff off NC Preps and some other sports blog where they're predicting scores, and because I'm not on it. You know, the
Yeah.
last time I was on it, was Chuck Fiebernuts, and I said, I can't get into these arguments.
Yeah, I'm not on it. And let me real quick. I don't go. I went back that one time when a couple of people about 3 weeks ago and said, "Hey, go. Hey, you need to go do this." And so, yeah, I'm not on it. I said my piece. So
Well,
anyway, go ahead and finish.
yeah, you mean Viren Poop, the defensive coordinator at West Henderson? Yeah, yeah. You didn't say that. I said that. See, I
Yeah.
got ways of finding out people. Anyhow, the defensive coordinator at West Henderson. Anyhow, well, that's up for another day. Um, so this week right here, from my standpoint, has always been the um, the most special week of the year. It was wonderful. When Pisgah ran for the state championship, that undefeated state championship in '05, '04, '05 season, and when they were on their way to the state championship, that entire run was magnificent, but it wasn't better than the football game, the week of the football game, the rivalry. So I was in awe my first one. I became a veteran after about 3 or 4, and it never ceased to amaze me. It wasn't boring to me. I was always, after 14, 15 years of covering it, I was always, always looking forward to that week.
That's all. And again, this week's going to be uh, amped up, and it already is, and looking forward to it. And we'll start breaking it down a little more on Thursday. But again, we're going to move on to other things here real quick. But remember, you cannot get in the stadium before 4 o'clock because I think that they can't start the sweep until about 4 o'clock. So don't go and disrupt them because you'll delay other people from being able to get in. Make sure you have your parking passes ready if you are able to park in the reserved parking. Make sure you have your parking pass ready to park in reserved parking. Otherwise, they will turn you away. Plan your trip accordingly. So logistics are a big part of it. Oh, and one more thing. Uh, one of the things I heard kind of out and about was the national anthem, and they were going to, that people had won. Both the bands, as is tradition, are going to play the national anthem. That was verified to me uh, 2 weeks ago. I didn't ask; they just came up and said, "Hey, make sure people know that." So there's not going to be any no breaking tradition in that. Both bands will play the national anthem as always, as it should be. and I
Right.
think you agree with that.
Oh,
So,
absolutely.
looking forward to Friday. Uh, Real quick, Houston beat Minnesota. The Astros over the Twins 9-1. They're up 2 games to 1 in the best 3 out of 5 for the right to go to the ALCS. Uh, the Fighting Orioles are down 2 games to 0 to the Rangers. First pitch is at 8:03. Baltimore has to win the next 3 for you and I to be able to cha-ching. And I'd hate to see a Flint happen to them. So you need to play well tonight, and I'd hate to see a Flint happen. And you know what I'm talking about there, Mr. Flint, Michigan, Chuck Fiebertits. That's all I
Carbine.
got to say about that.
Carbine. Somebody's
So,
day though.
uh,
We lose them.
what a game in Atlanta last night. The Braves were about to go down 2 games to 0 in their best 3 out of 5. And what a heck of a baseball game, and what an ending last night for to put the Braves right back in it. And the Dodgers and the Diamondbacks are playing again tomorrow. The Dodgers are down 2 games to 0 to Arizona, and I think you and I kind of called that. We kind of
We
called
did.
that. So baseball's getting down to the nitty gritty, and
Wish we would have called the
so
Baltimore one better.
yeah, we well, sure do. College football. Uh, Let me flip back over here to the AP top 25, and top 5 in the top 25 from the AP poll, which again really doesn't mean a lot, if anything, because the only polls that matter come out in 3 or 4 weeks before the end of the season for the college football
Next
playoff, right?
First Tuesday in November, I think it is.
Something like that. But AP top 25, they've got Georgia first, Michigan second, Ohio State third, Florida State fourth, and Oklahoma with a big win over Texas, and they jumped from 11th to 5th. And the Sooners, the Sooners are for real. And I know you guys, and I'm gonna put you in there, and I'm gonna put a couple other people. Last year, you guys were all over Venables, but it's taken them a year, but they're pretty darn good. And so again, the top 5 from the AP poll is Georgia, Michigan, Ohio State, Florida State, and Oklahoma. Can I tell you my top 5?
Sure.
My top 5: Michigan, and I don't think that many, again, they're 2 in the AP. I've got Michigan, Washington. I got the Huskies at number 2 from the soon-to-be dead Pac-12. I've got the Sooners of Oklahoma at number 3, the Ducks from Oregon in the Pac-12 at number 4, and Georgia at number 5. And I'm an SEC guy, but I do believe that those other teams are really, really good. And,
Right.
and the best player in the nation plays for Georgia.
Brock
And
Bowers.
their tight end is special. But man, Michigan's really good, and Michigan does one thing better than anybody on this list. They play defense better
Can I,
than anybody.
can I bring up just a point of looking at this? I started to do some research on it this weekend, and Brock Bowers is the one that made me start to think about this. Do you know what 2 teams in the country that do the best at throwing to the tight end, targeting the tight end 10 to 12 times?
Got it.
And
Well, I know Georgia.
right. Do you know the other team?
I'm just going to guess, but I would assume with what they run, I'm going to say the Wolverines.
Right. And aren't they
Uh,
1, 2?
Keep talking. I got to walk over here for 5 seconds. Keep talking. I hear you.
Oh, who am I going to talk to? The
I'm listening. I'm listening. Keep talking about the tight ends.
Well, it's a lost art, and what Kirby, Georgia, and Michigan do, and consistently, is they target the tight end, particularly in the middle of the field, because you got to keep at least two people in the middle of the field to control that tight end. And still, when you throw to the tight end inside the hashes, it opens up pockets and windows and everything. So you're not throwing so much outside. But there's nothing worse than complete a pass inside the hashes all the way down the field. Bauer and the tight ends at Michigan can they do the best at throwing to. It's part of their DNA on the offense is to throw to the tight end, and the most receptions typically, when you get there, is the tight ends is not just a blocking guy or he's back in the back as statistics on the number of receptions. They're up at the top, if not leading the pack on the team on receptions and yards. Tight ends are open, but other teams like to throw to those big wide receivers, but that's where all the bodies are at on the defensive team. They're out there in the secondary packing those outer thirds, and they're leaving the middle with one guy. And usually that guy doesn't like to take on a tight end.
No.
So I'm just saying the
No.
two teams that do the greatest job or the best job in the country in throwing to their tight ends is Georgia and Michigan, and they're 1 and 2 in the polls. Well, I mean, in the AP poll.
Yeah, in the AP poll and in the coaches poll, they're 1 and 2 too. The but I just think that Washington offensively is at a different level right now. Now, do they play defense as well as Michigan? No. But does Michigan play, does Michigan offensively as good as Washington? No. I don't know that many people are offensively, maybe Oregon offensively or Southern Cal, but Southern Cal can't play defense in the Mountain 7 right now. That's but Washington is a really good football team. Oklahoma, to me, is a really, really good football team. Oregon can score on par with Washington. And even though I've got Georgia 5th, they are probably still right now in the catbird seat to get in the playoffs and play for a national championship. But, what's your top 5?
My top 5 is Georgia 1, Michigan 2, Ohio State 3, Penn State 4, Washington 5. The one thing about and I got Oregon 6. That's that team, and Oklahoma 7, and I'll leave it at that. I think when you're 1 through 7, you got a shot at those 4 spots. You got to get to that 7th spot to at least have going into the final weekend to have a shot to get that 4th spot.
Yes.
But here's the thing about Michigan. This is all designed by Jim Harbaugh. 11 games of pounding it, whipping you at the front, on the front lines, coming at you, physical Bo Schembechler style football, all for that one game at the end against Ohio State, where they will physically beat Ohio State up. May not win it, but the last 2 years they physically beat Ohio State down. And so that's the recipe, and that's what they're going to do. Now, does it pan off into the postseason? No. They played Georgia and lost, and then they played TCU and laid an egg. So they haven't figured out how to go into the postseason and play winning football. Georgia's the same way. Physical. They don't care what the score is. They want to beat you. Every play they want to beat on you, whether you're on the defense or their line just smoking you in the interior fronts. So I look at that, and I look through all this, and I see 3 teams that are physical on the defensive side: Georgia, Michigan, and Penn State. Penn State's questionable offense. Ohio State's got a superior offense, but let's just be quite frank. The Marshmallows in Columbus, they're soft. They're finesse. They're good, and they got playmakers, but they're not as apt to create warlike tactics in the interior lines. So in Washington, I saw something the last 2 weeks in Washington that I thought, they're going to have to get over this bugaboo, and that is not playing well on the road. You can slip up. Not playing well on the road. Washington plays lights out at home, but they struggle somewhat on the road, and you don't want it. You want to fix that right away. You want to be able to play on the road as well as you do at home. So I mean that's where I'm at as far as my Oregon is just a different team with Dan Lanning, but he is off the Kirby Smart tree, so he's trying to create a West Coast Georgia, if you will, a very physical brand of football. We're going to focus on defense. Oklahoma, very good defensive team. I don't know if Gabriel, the quarterback, the left-handed quarterback, is what they played well against Texas, as they always do. But let's just see where Oklahoma goes from here. You want to stay in that top 10? Keep winning. Keep winning.
And let me ask you this. Well, let me say this and then
Okay.
morph it into a question. Carolina has a chance to get to the playoffs. The University of North Carolina has a legitimate chance to make the college football playoffs. Yes or no? I say yes.
I agree. Yes, because of their defense. Now, a year ago, they struggled, but let me tell you what they have on their defense. Five graduates on their defense. That's a mature group of men playing defense, and that's been the difference. 1 year in college makes a big difference, but these guys are grown men, 22, 23, and a couple of them 24-year-old guys that are out there playing against 19-year-old kids.
Kind of like Wake Forest last year.
Wake Forest last year. We still have a veteran team, but it's guys that are starting for the first time. They're 21. So give them a couple years and they'll be back to that way where they were veterans out there on both sides of the football. It's Clemson's down this year, but to lose at 17-12 in Clemson, I'll take it and move on. I don't like moral. There's no moral victory. I don't like losing, but if I'm going to get beat, I'd rather be a close game and you were in it to the end, rather than getting smoked 52-3. Which.
Yep. All right.
I think North Carolina has got to win the big game, and I think they can just keep winning. Don't forget Louisville, and I'm not on Florida State. I think North Carolina is better than Florida State.
I tell you that, if the quarterback at Duke is healthy, don't overlook them against Carolina.
Yeah, that high ankle sprain. Don't they say that I'd rather have it broken than have a high ankle sprain?
Yep, you're right. Now, I want to move on to the FCS. I still call it 1AA.
Right.
We're setting up not this Saturday, but next Saturday. It's setting up for might be the game of the year. Number ranked Furman University is ranked 4th in 1AA FCS. The Catamounts are up to 14. Western is open this week. Get a chance to heal, get a chance to game plan. Next week, they Furman and Western are playing. Are they playing in Cullowhee?
Yes.
They're playing in Cullowhee next week with national implications. It's going to be a heck of a game, a heck of an environment in Cullowhee. And boy, is he building something? And he is really recruited well, and he understands the transfer portal. And man, how about those Catamounts and those Palatins, all right here in the mountains?
Well, ever since Georgia Southern and App State, the Southern Conference kind of took a back seat to other 1AA conferences. They kind of moved out to the Big Sky Conference with North Dakota State and all that. There's now these teams are starting to come around and take the bull by the reins and playing top level football. But nobody has expected this to happen in Cullowhee, the Western Carolina turnaround. It's not building something, although you could say, yeah, he's building. But what he has is a young team still, and they're playing. I mean, they will score as many points as you want from here to Rocky Mount. They'll score. You'll score
Yep.
big. And if you want to play a shootout, let's roll.
Well, that was exactly what happened in Chattanooga. I
Right.
watched the last quarter, and uh, you know, took the lead, lost the lead, took the lead, lost the lead, got the ball back with 40 something seconds to go, and went 92 yards to win the football game. Uh, just they're really exciting offensively, and man, uh, they have a chance. They
Right.
really, really, really have a chance. And look, all you need to do is get in the playoffs.
Well, David, if they win win out in the Southern Conference and go
They're
undefeated
in then.
in the Southern
Yeah.
Conference, they finish the season 10-1. Their one loss is to Arkansas of the SEC.
Hmm. Hmm.
That's it. They're in and a high seed and hosting a home postseason game, at least one, if not rolling at least for 3 rounds. The
Yep.
only is to Arkansas right now.
Yep.
This, this is as hot as anything. I wish I was up there. This, to see that and be a part of that, because we used to go all the time down to Western games, and here's two guys from Waynesville acting like we own the place and running around with the coaches and sitting in the office and propping up the feet and putting my feet up on Wagner's desk, corner desk, and having to look at him going, is this okay? And he's like, yeah, go ahead.
You're good, brother. You're good, man. Yeah.
But
But those, yeah.
we wanted it for so long. So many people have wanted this for so long since Bob Waters has passed. But it's happening. It's happening right now with Kerwin Bell.
Yep. And
Turnaround
and
happening in coloring.
and I will tell you this again. And you laugh when I am a uniform guy. I am. I love and the uniforms. Finally, one of the best looking uniforms, any division, any level in this nation, is what the Catamouts are wearing. Those are gorgeous. Those are absolutely gorgeous. So, go Cats! And we're going to preview the Furman Western game next week. We'll really break it down and get some information. And we'll call our buddy out there, the SID, and see if we can't have maybe on the Tuesday show, because it won't be as close to the game. Maybe if we can get see if we can get Kerwin on
Yeah.
and have him on here with us next Tuesday night. Can't promise, but we're going to try like heck.
Make sure we
Now,
get Truett on. Make sure we get Truett back on, because he's all Western Carolina too now. Sits on that athletic board, so he can give us some insight to that big game.
that's it. Now, Division Two. Before we talk about the number one ranked team in the country right now, we want to shout out to the Lions out there of my friends, my buddy, my family. The Mars Hill Lions, 4-1, just outside of the top 25. And to be honest with you, I always get angry at these people because they should be in the top 25. And they always treat Mars Hill horribly in ratings and votings. And when Jonas won the Harlan Hill Award, they were good enough to win the national championship. And instead of giving them a top 4 seed, gave them a crappy seed. So I'm not a big fan of the way that they do the D2 thing, but the Lions of Mars Hill do more with less than anybody in the nation at any level, any division, any program. And Coach Clifton and those guys, if you want to see great football and you want to see great men and you want to see how to run a program, go to Mars Hill. Spend some time out there, and you won't get anything better in this country. So anyway, congratulations to the 4-1 Lions, and I'm gonna throw it over to you, to the top-ranked Division II team in the nation.
Well, that's Ferris State. That is the two-time defending national champion. They've been at the national championship 3 consecutive years. Ironically, my college teammate at Alma College, Tony Anise, is the head coach at Ferris State. And when they went to the first national championship, they faced Valdosta State, coached by Kerwin Bell. So they have faced in that 3 years ago, and then Tony has led the Ferris State Bulldogs to a back-to-back Division II national champions, and he's an incredible alpha. He's an alpha dog, but he's an incredible guy. And I'll tell you
Yes.
one story about this real quick. Is that I'm a senior. We're in summer camp. We just got on campus. We're starting our run down to the fall. Tony's a freshman. He comes on. He's in the receiving corps, and I pull a practical joke on Tony and his roommate, where the little freshmen were staying. I went and took all my clothes, and while they were out at some meeting, and I put them all in his closet. And then I came when it come time when they're back, they were talking, and I come walking around. I said, "Have any of you guys seen my clothes? Somebody took my clothes." And they're like, "No, we haven't seen your clothes." And I said, "Well, let me look." And I open up the Tony's closet, and there sits all my clothes. So to make a long story short, Tony's no, I didn't do that. Well, when I was talking to Tony several years ago, it was in the spring game, and a couple of our teammates from Alma College went up to go see him. And he goes, "Hey, Chuck, I'm with a few of our teammates here, but I want to know, do you remember that time that you stuffed all your clothes in my closet and blamed me for it and wouldn't accept my that I didn't do it for like a day or two and told me you were going to get me?" And I said, "Well, I don't remember saying that." No, he said, "No, you told me you were going to get me for stealing my clothes. That's not freshmen don't play practical jokes on the seniors like that." And I said, "I'm sorry, Tony. I mean, I was an idiot back then. I'm sorry." He he has
And he's a heck of a football coach.
yes, he is.
And I have never, Chuck, I have never understood. And you know what I'm fixing to say. I know we've run over a couple of minutes and we're going to get off here in a second, but I have never understood why someone hasn't snatched him up. He is one of the premier football coaches in this country. I don't care what level. I don't care. He is one of the premier football coaches in the United States of America. It makes no sense to me.
Wherever he goes, he does the quick turnaround. And all Tony Anise does, as he says, "I don't need a long term contract. I'll fix the problems in 1 year. And if I don't, you can fire me." And that's how, when he left high
Yep.
school, he had 4 state championships in high school at Muskegon. And if you go to Muskegon, nationally ranked, he created the ski gun. Honest to God, it's an offense. You got to go. It's on YouTube. Go look up. He's the creator of that. And he went then to Grand Rapids Junior College, and 3 years there lost 1 game a year. Went to the National Division II Junior College Championship. And then when he left to take the Ferris State job, it took 1 year, and boom, he was in postseason play. And then 5 years later, he's one of the top. He's the top ranked big dog in Division
Yeah.
Two.
Well, he's all he does is win.
That's all he does.
But so anyway, we're gonna real quick. We've kind of run over, and we're 15th ranked Division III team. Your alma mater, Alma College, averaging about 50 points a football game. And
Oh,
we'll talk. I want to talk more about them on Thursday.
okay, 59.3 points a game. We're
Yeah.
leading the entire nation of all divisions in scoring offense.
And real quick before we go, and I didn't talk to you about this, and this is just me. I just wanted to my family, and that I've you know we a lot of our family from my mom's side is over in the war right now in Israel, and we've got some folks that are now in battle, and I know that they watch us every week from there. And I just want to tell my family, we love you. We're sorry. Please be careful. Protect your land. Protect your family. And if I could come help you, I will come. We will come on the next plane. God bless you. God bless the people. And I just needed to say that to my family because it's horrific. It's horrific. So anyway, Thursday night, Chuck, I am excited. It'll be one day out from the game, and hopefully we're gonna work it out for you. You'll be here Friday, I hope. But Angie is the priority. And what do you got before we go? And then we're gonna talk a little Alma College on Thursday too. So
Oh
tell
yeah,
me
we
what you
got
got before we go.
well. I don't have anything, as far as no, I don't have anything. The big game. There's really it's just this week on the Pisgah at Tuscola game. That's all I've been doing is been looking at all the stuff on the game. I'm in Winston Salem, and they here
Say
they
that again.
know they know about this game, Tuscola and Pisgah down here. I got people that have talked to me. I had it before at the newspaper before I came up there in 2004. But there are some people when, Deuce and others have said, oh, yeah, we've heard about that rivalry.
Oh. If you want to buy the 50/50, people can go online in Winston-Salem and buy
Oh,
50/50 tickets.
hold on one second. No, you got to tell me that.
I
How,
don't,
Deuce?
all I know is you go, hold on, before we get off the air, I'm going to try to do something here because I know, because there is a way to do it.
It'll be the winner take 25 grand. I guarantee you right now. Ooh. It goes up to, how 50/50 works. Yeah. It goes up to 50,000. Half of it goes to the winning ticket. We don't have to be there, right?
I'm finding that right now.
See, Deuce is my basketball guru right here. He's in college basketball and NBA mode right now. But you mentioned money and Deuce's ears perk up.
Call if anybody's listening, call the school, call Tuscola. I don't know because I know that they'll tell you exactly where to go and tell you exactly what to do to get the 50/50 tickets.
All
Because
right.
this is a chance. Hey, man, you can win 20, 25, $30,000.
Oh yeah.
And
On to Las Vegas to lay it on
yeah,
the
no,
Orioles. And
you wouldn't. You'd have the pressure would be on you. You'd have to donate it back.
hey, it let's go. Let's go. Yeah, I would. Johnson would make me donate it back.
No, he wouldn't. No,
Yeah,
he wouldn't. He'd say, put it on the mighty O's, baby. Put it on the O's.
we might go on and the Detroit Lions to get to the postseason, right? No, to go to the Super Bowl. My dad was here. He'd do this, Chuck. It's the Lions. Relax.
I miss your dad.
All right.
I miss your mom.
All right, bub.
All
I
right,
miss
buddy.
you.
I'll see you Thursday. Great
All right.
show. Everybody get ready. It is the week. See you, Chucky. Great show, buddy.
Bye
Go
bye.
O's.